Hello to the class 12 students. I will be starting with the zoology portion of your class 12 biology syllabus, and the first chapter that I will be starting with is the chapter 3, that is human reproduction. I will provide many videos, means I will do this chapter in parts, and I will provide quite a few videos, and in the first video I will be discussing about the structure of the male and female reproductive system, and its different parts, their functions, etc. And since I believe that class 12 students don't have their book, I will provide a PDF along with each video, like from the a PDF from the book, which will help you to study from that PDF after you learn from the videos that I provide. So let's get started with our first chapter. So for this chapter, human reproduction, our first topic will be the male reproductive system. We will discuss about the different parts of the male reproductive system and learn about the functions of each of these parts. Okay, so here in this chart I have written down the various parts and have categorized them into the primary sex organ, which is obviously the testis, which produces the sperms, and which is the main part of the male reproductive system that takes part in reproduction. Next comes the secondary sex organs. There are various parts under it, like epididymis, seminal vesicle, vas deferens, ejaculatory ducts, prostate gland, Cowper's gland, urethra, etc. And next comes the external sex organs, means the organs which are located outside the body that take part in the process of reproduction, like penis and scrotum. So we will learn about all these parts in details and also learn about their functions. This is a diagram of the male reproductive system. My first topic will be about the scrotum. In this diagram you will not be able to find scrotum drawn or labeled, but it is just a covering outside each testis. Okay, so it is covering outside each testis, and scrotum is a pouch of deeply pigmented skin which is divided into two compartments, each of which containing one testis. So in males the testis hangs outside the body, right? The testis is not inside the body, it is outside the body, and thus the scrotum is also outside the body covering the testis. So what is the function of scrotum? The scrotum maintains the temperature of the testis much lower, as in 2 degrees Celsius to 2.5 degrees Celsius lower than that of the normal body temperature. Like the normal body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius, right? So the scrotum maintains a temperature which is 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius lower, and this little lower temperature helps in proper development of sperm. Means sperm needs this much temperature which is not found inside our body. So outside our body the scrotum gives that temperature which is ideal for sperm development. You all know the testis is the primary sex organ in males, and here these two structures are the testes, and these are equivalent of the female ovaries. Okay, and they hang outside the male body, and in case it does not hang outside the body, so in that case that condition is known as cryptorchidism. Okay, so the condition, the disorder in people who does not have a testis which is outside the body, rather than they have the testis inside the body, this condition is known as cryptorchidism. So testes have a protective covering. The testis is covered by 3 layers. As you can see, there are 3 layers. I have written them: tunica vaginalis, tunica albuginea, and tunica vasculosa, where tunica vaginalis is the outermost one. So these 3 layers are the protective covering of the testis. Okay, so in this diagram you can see a longitudinal section of the testis. So now if we cut a longitudinal section through a testis, we will be able to understand about the structure within the testis, right? So each testis consists of about 200 to 300 of these structures. Okay, these structures are known as seminiferous tubules. They are composed of germinal epithelial cells, and about 200 to 300 seminiferous tubules are found in each testis. Okay, and with time eventually they straighten out to form straight seminiferous tubules. Okay, and the between these tubules there are groups of secretory cells known as interstitial cells. Okay, and on one end you can see that there is a closed end, nothing is there, but on the other side all these seminiferous tubules join to form a network known as retitestis. Okay, and from this retitestis fine ciliated duct-like structures known as vasa efferentia, they arise from this retitestis. Clear? Next comes the epididymis. Here you can see right on top of the testis these greenish colored coiled structures. These are the epididymis. They are convoluted tube-like structures which are found on the top part of the testis, and they are continuous with the vas deferens, right? As you can see here, they are continuous with the vas deferens, and the main function of epididymis is to provide nourishment to the sperm while it is being produced inside the testis. Next comes the seminal vesicle. Here you can see these structures on both the sides is known as the seminal vesicle. They are mainly found on each side of the urinary bladder, and they do not really store any sperm inside them, but how they help in the process is that they secrete a thick alkaline fluid which provides nourishment to the sperm. Next, coming to two important glands of the male reproductive system, that is prostate gland and bulbourethral gland, also known as Cowper's gland. So firstly, the prostate gland is located around the urethra of the excretory system, which also is a part of the male reproductive system. So it lies around the urethra, and the secretion from the prostate gland makes the urethra slippery, thus helping in the discharge of sperm. Also, this secretion increases the volume of the semen, and also helps to provide nutrition or nourishment to the sperms. Similarly, for the bulbourethral gland or the Cowper's gland, these are very small pea-shaped glands located right below the prostate gland, and its function is more or less similar to prostate gland. They provide a milky fluid-like secretion, and it helps in the discharge of the sperm from the urethra and also provides nourishment. Lastly, coming to the penis, which is an external sex organ within which lies the urethra, which acts as a common pathway for the excretory system, that is the urine to pass out, and also for the semen containing the sperms for reproduction. So urethra is a common pathway for both urine and sperms, and it is surrounded by a muscular structure known as penis, which is located outside of our body. So this is all about the male reproductive system, the structure, the external structure of the male reproductive system. So after the male reproductive system, we will start with the structure and the different parts of the female reproductive system. First, similarly like the male reproductive system, I have drawn a chart which contains the different organs. Firstly, coming to the primary sex organ, that is the ovary, which is one pair present in females, similarly to that of testis. Means in males there is one pair of testis, which is the primary sex organ, and in case of females there is one pair of ovaries, which is the primary sex organ. So nextly, coming to the secondary sex organs, there are these parts: the fallopian tube, uterus, vagina, Bartholin's gland. And next, coming to the external genitalia, it will be the vulva, meaning mostly comprising of the opening of the vagina, and next the mammary glands. So now you must think that why mammary glands are part of the female reproductive system. Obviously it is a part of the female reproductive system, because when after reproduction a baby grows, a baby is born, he or she, the baby, will need milk to grow further, to become a fully grown individual. So initially it will obviously need milk. So for that, mammary glands are considered a part of the female reproductive system. So here is a diagram of the female reproductive system. You can see there are two ovaries on each side, right? So these are the primary female sex organs, and they are situated around the pelvic, means in the area of the pelvic cavity on either side of the uterus. This is the uterus, you can see. On either side of the uterus, a pair of ovaries are found, and each ovary weighs about 4 to 6 gram. They are very small in structure, and their function is to produce ovum, which is the female reproductive gamete, female sex cell, and they also produce hormones, namely estrogen and progesterone. Next, you can see the fallopian tube, right? The fallopian tube, this hand and fingers like structure, this is known as the fallopian tube, and it starts from the uterus, from both sides of the uterus, and extends up to the ovary. Okay, and they are about 10 to 12 centimeter in length, and each fallopian tube is divided into 4 parts. First one is the uterine part of the fallopian tube. This part is not labeled here, but it is just a continuation of the uterus. Okay, like this part. And next comes the isthmus, which is a straight narrow part which is just lateral to the wall of the uterus. This long lateral part of the fallopian tube is known as the isthmus. Next comes the ampulla, which is the widest part of the fallopian tube. And the last part is known as the infundibulum. It is quite dilated, like a trumpet like structure, and it has finger-like projections on its one end. These finger-like projections are known as fimbriae, and this whole structure holds onto the ovary. What is the function of fallopian tube? The function of fallopian tube is to carry the ovum produced inside the ovary, and the ovum goes through this and waits around this area for the sperm to come through the vagina, cervix, and then comes halfway to the fallopian tube to be fertilized to fertilize the ovum. So once the ovum gets fertilized by the sperm, then the fertilized ovum will come to the uterus. Okay, so now what is the in one word, if we have to say what is the function of the fallopian tube, it will be to carry the ovum and also as a fertilization location for the sperm and ovum. Okay, so next part is uterus. This part is the uterus of the female reproductive system. It is a pear shaped muscular part and is divided into three parts. The upper broadest part is known as the fundus. Here you can see the fundus. The broadest part of the uterus is known as the fundus. Then the middle part is known as the body, and lastly the narrow region at the lowermost part of the uterus is known as the cervix, which is in continuation with the vagina, which is the opening of the female reproductive system through which the sperm enters into the female reproductive system. So the walls of the uterus consists of different types of tissue layers, and this is like there are three layers: perimetrium, myometrium and endometrium. You must have heard about endometrium. So these layers are developed along the inner wall of the uterus for the implantation of the ovum. Okay, if the ovum is fertilized by the sperm, the ovum will be implanted within the uterus on these layers of tissues like perimetrium, myometrium, endometrium, as I said. So these tissues acts as a bed, a nutritious bed-like structure for the growing ovum. Next comes the vagina. As I said, it is a tubular part which continues from the cervix and is an opening through which the sperms enter the female reproductive system. Lastly comes the Bartholin's gland. These are not drawn in this diagram, and these are two pear-shaped glands on either side of the vaginal opening, and their secretions, the secretions of this gland helps to make the vaginal canal slippery and moist for a better entry of the sperm. So students, this much for today. Learn the video. And I will continue with the chapter, learn from the video, and I will continue with the chapter in my next videos.